Stephen Patterson is South Australia's Shadow Minister for Energy and Net Zero. Great to have you with us on Flow FM, Stephen.
Well, thanks, Ricky, and good morning to listeners. Yeah, it's a very sober day. The Australian Energy Regulator have released their draft default market offer today, and while industry insiders were forecasting prices would jump around 20%, in fact, it's over that. It's about 21.8% as well. So that's a significant cost in terms of dollar terms. The average household's looking at between a $400 and $485 increase depending on the setup in their house. So that really is tough for families, especially low-income households that are coming into winter.
And it's a crunch for small businesses as well. I think the news is even worse for them.
Well, yes, small businesses, they're also impacted heavily. That their market offer is based on increased usage. However, they're seeing an increase of around $1,150. So that's massive. So that's a 25% increase. That's really tough for business. Just like households, they're going through high inflation. Everyone's experienced interest rate rises. We've had consecutive interest rate rises, and this will impact their ability to operate their business profitably.
Yeah, still ringing in my ears, 10 months ago was a promise made by the Albanese Labor government that energy prices would come down $275. We've gone in the other direction and double that, according to these market offers.
Yeah, well, clearly, that's gone totally out the window now, and prices are just skyrocketing. This is hugely concerning for working families, low-income households, as I said, coming into winter, and they're experiencing a cost of living crisis with consecutive interest rate rises, rising grocery bills, and really, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be a plan to address the actual underlying cause. There has been efforts made to increase concession payments, but those have just been totally gobbled up by these huge increases. And so there must be urgent action, both from the federal government, but here in South Australia from the state government. They haven't really had a plan at all. They've been in power now for a year. There's no real plan to address this at all, and needs to get their full attention.
Now, Stephen, you're the Shadow Energy Minister for Net Zero as well. I just wonder what role the increased movement into renewable energy has played in all of this and the infrastructure required of that. Is this partly due to those energy providers looking to recoup some of the costs of that transition from consumers?
Well, if you look at the underlying drivers of this change, a lot of it's to do with the wholesale prices going up. But yes, there is a component of this price that takes into account network charges that are only going to increase as you've seen with the increased renewable energy. The real concern is that the reliable baseload power is getting pushed out of the market before there's a economic replacement for it, and by economic I mean able to be reliable both night and day. And so what that means is we're getting a reduced reliable supply replaced with some unreliable supply, and that's flowing through into prices that we see hitting into our bills. So as I said, $400 to $485 increase for working families, that's really hard to find with everything else going up as well.
Is it within the Minister for Energy's powers to direct some of these energy providers to maybe keep some of that baseload generation going, regardless of what it costs them, so that we do have reliable energy prices in South Australia?
Well, that's a good question. You have to ask them, but certainly some areas where they can have control, the South Australian Concessions Energy Discount offer, that's recently been reduced from 21% down to 17%. That's an area where the government could put work into to help get that going, because that certainly helps those most vulnerable.
And just lastly, on this default market offer, it's a draft at this stage. I mean, is there any sort of silver lining here that maybe this might not end up this way, or indeed, as a default market offer, people can shop around, be they a small business or a family, to get a better offer from a new energy provider?
Well, that is a good point. These electricity bill increases don't come into effect till July the 1st. Unfortunately, with the default market offer, usually the other retail offers move in sync to some extent with this, because the default market offer, it's the maximum price that retailers can charge electricity customers. However, it is recommended if households are on these default market offers to try to shop around and get a better deal. That's certainly one area. And you're right, because it's a draft default market offer, there's hopeful that there'll be some downward pressure on these prices between now and when the final market offer is released in the middle of May. And we'll be looking to see what can be done to move it downwards, because these increases of $400 to $485 for households, $1,150 for business are just unsustainable.
Stephen Patterson is the Shadow Minister for Energy and Net Zero in South Australia. Thanks for joining us today on Flow FM.
Thanks, Ricky.